Post-pandemic world order brings certain challenges for the humanity. Welcome to a new episode of Alternative Perspective. In this episode of Alternative Perspective, we discuss these challenges and we also discuss some simple solutions which one can follow. We discuss the solutions under three categories: financial security, food security and livelihood, and finally the health matters. Kindly watch this episode till the very end in order to get your perspective right. For a long time, the ruling elites have been enjoying the hegemonical supremacy over the masses. In my earlier videos, I have categorically stated that the ruling elites have realized that their hegemony would soon come to an end. I have also stated that we are currently in a transition phase and we are witnessing the dismantling of their empire, which would continue for some more time. The Anglo-American Western Empire is the continuation of the British Empire, which in turn is the continuation of Holy Roman Empire and Roman Empire. And we are now witnessing the slow but steady collapse or decline of the Anglo-American Empire. All the geopolitical events that we have been witnessing for the last 300 years is the result of a tug of war, as the elites are trying their best to protect their empire from getting dismantled due to the awakening of the masses, due to the changing nature of time. Hence, they want to engineer their way to a world order which they would love to have. That is the reason why they started to envision the idea of a new world order. In 1871, American Freemason and Illuminati Grandmaster Albert Pike wrote a letter to Giuseppe Mazzini, a 33-degree Italian Illuminati Grandmaster and the founder of Italian Mafia. In this three-part letter, Albert Pike envisioned a one-world government that would be implemented through the orchestration of 3 world wars and associated socio-political, economic and religious subversion. This grand project was to be funded by the ruling elites or the Illuminati. They orchestrated the destruction of World Trade Center through controlled demolition and funded the terror outfits before and after the destruction of World Trade Center. Destruction of World Trade Center can be viewed as the thesis stage of classic Hegelian dialectic, which gave them the pretext to start a war on terror. Destruction of World Trade Center, funding and creation of terror outfits such as Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, orchestration of terror attacks or events all over the world, including 26/11 attack in Mumbai, India, and finally the war on terror were aimed to serve 3 purposes. Number 1, polarize the world in 2 blocks, that is sympathizers of Islam and supporters of political Zionism, so that a global conflict can be orchestrated as envisioned by Albert Pike. This would have given the ruling elites the perfect opportunity to set in motion their diabolical plan. Destroy the oil-rich Muslim nations of the second and third world, kill their people and plunder their resources, destroy these societies and transform these societies into the spawning ground for future terrorism. Prolong the life of petrodollar through the plunder of resources and by boosting the war economy and by funding into the military-industrial complex. Although these objectives were partially achieved, it could not drag the world into a global conflict. Hence, they had to set in motion their backup plan, the plandemic. Naturally, question comes, what is their agenda? Their long-term agenda is to create an elitist world by 2100 and beyond. And towards that end, they are not hesitant to wipe out the population that is not of their kind. However, they have several short-term agendas or goals. These are abolish nation-states and bring in one world government by 2030, referred to as New World Order or NWO. National governments who participate in this New World Order nonsense would be of symbolic importance only. Plunder the resources of the second and third world countries through these puppet governments who participate in this New World Order nonsense. Ruling elites have started to talk about the Great Reset, which would be the orchestration of biggest wealth transfer in the history of mankind. World Economic Forum at Davos, Switzerland has been given the specific task to oversee this great reset. Bring in fourth industrial revolution, whose main aim is to destroy, shut down the existing industrial and economic setup of the developing nations under the pretext of climate change, and bring in autonomous systems, robotic interventions, and AI-driven industrial interventions, and destroy the jobs of many people. Bring in totalitarian surveillance state where biometric identity, digital health card, and a digital economy keeps the people tied to the control and surveillance grid, also called as population control grid. This is what is referred to as Orwellian state as predicted by George Orwell in 1984. Enslave the humanity by 2050 through the implementation of one world digital currency and biometric surveillance grid, and through chip inoculation that would set the stage for transhumanism. Pandemic has already set the stage for population control starting 2020 through invasive healthcare system or intrusive healthcare system. Pandemic has also set the stage for a surveillance state in the name of biosecurity and vaccine passports. Pandemic also transforms the entire world population into a lucrative market for big pharma companies. I am now going to explain the solutions to these problems. I am now going to discuss the problems and solutions that arise due to this new geopolitical world order. I'm going to discuss these problems and solutions in three different categories: financial security, food security and livelihood, and finally health matters. Kindly watch. Understand, the ruling elites are now planning the biggest wealth transfer in the history of mankind through this great reset. Southeast Asia and particularly India is their prime target, and this has already started. Demonetization in India was a black money whitening scheme that was instigated by US-based organization called USAID. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation too influenced this particular move. This was done in order to facilitate the wealth transfer. I'm going to discuss all these things in a future video. The massive bad loan or NPA, that is the non-performing asset, which has jumped from 2.5 lakh crore to 13 lakh crore over the last 7 years, essentially is a case of massive wealth transfer. As a result, the Indian banking system and Indian economy is in dire strait. In 2017, Government of India brought in FRDI bill, that is Financial Resolution and Deposit Insurance Bill, which had a dangerous bail-in clause as opposed to bail-out clause. Thus, in the event of bankruptcy, a bank would be allowed to bail itself in as opposed to government bailing that bank out. Thus, banks are allowed to convert a chunk of depositors' savings into equity. Although this bill has been taken back thanks to the pandemonium and hue and cry raised by people, government is now contemplating on FSDR bill. FSDR bill stands for Financial Sector Development and Regulation or Resolution Bill, which many thinks is a clever reintroduction of the FRDI bill with much broader scope. This would be discussed in a future episode as well. During 2008-2009 timeframe, at the height of recession, people lost up to 47% of their savings and deposit in some of the southern European nations such as Cyprus, where this deposit insurance bill was enacted. So you can understand that the trial run of this Ponzi scheme has already been done. Government would have brought this FSDR bill by now, but farmers' protest and defeat in some of the state elections have jolted their plan. It is a good idea to diversify the savings. Ideal distribution would be as follows: 25% in precious metals such as gold and silver, 20% in jewelry and ornaments, which gives you a tactical advantage. You can wear these things and leave a place in the event of a calamity, war, civil war, and people unrest. 15% in land. You cannot keep too much of land in your possession as it takes time to sell. Secondly, land has risk, as one might lose the possession of land in the event of a people unrest, civil war, and partition. 40% in cash, and from now onwards, stay away from cryptocurrency. It is also important to note that since January 2019, gold price is showing drastically upward trend, and particularly during August and September of 2020, it reached all-time high. Remember, one of the plans of the ruling elites is to break the food supply chain and related logistics. And the trial run of this has already taken place, has already been carried out through this pandemic, that is in last year, in 2020. In coming days, they want to create tremendous food scarcity and they want to instigate riots in cities and suburbs through this artificial or engineered food scarcity. Remember, everywhere they're raising gangs of hooligans and anarchists who would be set free in order to wreak havoc in cities and suburbs. Naturally, question comes what they want to achieve through this anarchy and riots triggered by food scarcity. Ruling elites want to push their GMO food grains, synthetic meat and synthetic food in the midst of chaos and anarchy, and more importantly, they want you to get used to it. And this process had already started through this pandemic. And all this would be sold through their corporate retailers or MNC retailers at exorbitant prices. Remember, this is another mechanism of wealth transfer. Kindly watch a video in our channel, Synthetic Meat, is it another ploy to make you sicker? Kindly watch this episode. They want to convince you this is due to food grain shortage, which is due to climate change, which is of course a falsehood, which they would like to propagate through their propaganda media or mainstream media. This is another objective. Their final agenda is population control, which is a sophisticated name for depopulation, which they want to accomplish through this engineered or orchestrated starvation, food scarcity, and famine. If you own a house in a city or suburb, you can seriously start thinking of growing a small kitchen garden in your rooftop. Village homes generally come with a courtyard or a stretch of land. One can use this land as well as rooftop for growing a kitchen garden. This can be pretty handy if things go bad. If you live in a city and possess a second village home or a farmhouse, that's even better. Don't sell it at least till 2030. You might need it. Start visiting this place, talk to your neighbors and build a rapport and refurbish this village home with a boundary wall and probably with a tube well. If you live in a flat in an apartment, talk to the other flat owners. Discuss these things with them. Last year's lockdown and food scarcity should have been an eye-opener. You can start thinking of growing a kitchen garden in your rooftop in an apartment as well, and this is quite possible. I'm sharing a few YouTube links in the discussion section. Kindly watch. Language in these videos are Bengali, but just watch them. You'd see that it is possible to successfully grow varieties of vegetables in rooftop kitchen gardens. Please note that I do not have any relation whatsoever with this YouTube channel owner. If you have a village home, start growing some livestock and poultry in your spare times. Learn the skills and also learn how to procure meat from these items. It is also possible to grow some fish and prawns if you have a small pond, or you can even construct a small reservoir if you have a village home or a home in city or suburb. Always remember that the ruling elite's favorite tool is Hegelian dialectic. Hegelian dialectic comprises of three distinctive stages or phases: thesis or action, antithesis or reaction, and synthesis or solution. It starts off with the orchestration or enactment of an event with an ultimate aim to set a narrative that allows them to push through their own agenda. Moment you suspect or you realize that somebody has orchestrated an event, then as a rule of thumb, you are not supposed to accept the narrative or the solution provided by the suspected troublemaker. This is the rule of thumb. The moment you suspect that somebody has orchestrated a problem and he himself is coming forward to offer a solution, then you must not accept the solution provided by the suspected troublemaker or the troublemaker. This is the rule of thumb. You must follow this all the time. If you think that there exists a problem and you might have to accept a solution, then you must accept the solution from an unrelated entity. That is, an entity who in no way is related to this troublemaker. Steer clear of GMO food, synthetic meat, synthetic food, fast food, packaged food, which contains preservatives, which are often carcinogenic in nature. Remember that this GMO or synthetic food, fake meat, is more likely to be sold through corporate retailers or MNC retailers. According to me, traditional mandis or sabji mandis, bazaars, and small traders and grocery shop owners are safer options. This is my opinion. Remember, agenda is population control, which is a sophisticated name for depopulation. Also, remember some important points. Do not straightway get influenced by the high-profile doctors, health experts, nutritionists who would appear at the mainstream media and immensely popular social media outlets. These people might be on the payroll of some big pharma companies or some food or food supplement companies or nutrition brands. They might be on the payroll of a company that manufactures a specific medical intervention. Or it might just be the case that they are just pushing through the agenda of a group, organization, or country. Kindly watch the episode E116 exposed the reality of Soumya Swaminathan on our channel. Buy some authentic books on genetics and human physiology, Ayurveda and herbal medicine. Read these books, learn about medicinal herbs and their medicinal usage. Read and learn about vitamins, micronutrients, and essential minerals. Try to figure out which minerals are important for a good lung, for good immunity, and good cardiovascular activity. Ask yourself a question: is it zinc, gold, and magnesium? Buy a good book on homeopathy. Materia Medica would be a good choice, good option. Buy some commonly used homeopathic medicines. Be prepared and stay entrenched. I'll shortly be coming up with a video on privacy and surveillance. Kindly watch that video as well. Kindly share this video with your loved ones and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.